the housing market right now is slow, and that's both the pace of home sales, but also the pace of construction certainly has slowed over the last couple of months.
The reason, an icing out of home buyers who balked at high mortgage rates that hover near 7% over the beginning of this year.
The housing market right now is an affordability constrained market, and that'll happen when you have home prices on a national basis go up 40-45% during the pandemic housing boom.
Every few years, America picks a new city to obsess over, a place where everyone swears the future is being built, where opportunity is endless, where the dream feels cheap enough to touch. And for a while, that city was Dallas. But today, the shine is gone. The same neighborhoods that once felt unstoppable now feel like they've been hit with a slow-moving wrecking ball. Homes are empty, prices are slipping, and the people who came chasing freedom are suddenly realizing they might have walked straight into a trap. This isn't some minor correction. This is Texas staring at a housing market that's finally paying the price for its own hype, and the whole country is watching to see whether the Lone Star Miracle still has any magic left in it. Right now, the housing market is crawling not just in sales, but in construction too. Everything has cooled. Buyers have stepped back, tired of dealing with mortgage rates brushing up against 7% while prices remained outrageously high. Sure, many homes started selling below asking price, but that didn't make them affordable. Not after home values shot up 40-45% during the pandemic surge. The whole country slid into an affordability trap, and Texas, the state that bragged the loudest, is now stuck the deepest. But here's the twist. For the few who can stomach buying right now, the power dynamic has flipped. They finally have leverage. And that shift is exactly why Dallas is melting down. July 2025, Dallas-Fort Worth. Almost 32,000 homes sitting untouched, prices slipping for the first time in years, sellers chopping off tens of thousands just to get someone to walk through the door. That's not a slowdown, that's a reversal. So sharp the governor had to call property tax relief an emergency. Not a plan, not a proposal, an emergency. Because what's happening here isn't just a real estate problem. It's the unraveling of the identity that made millions pack their lives into U-Hauls and head for Texas. 5 years ago, Dallas was the Golden State without the coastline. Low taxes, big jobs, homes normal people could afford. Californians, New Yorkers, everyone sick of insane rent prices piled in. The population boom looked unstoppable. Bidding wars became normal Tuesday afternoons. Homes sold before buyers even walked inside. Investors bought blocks at a time. In 3 short years, the median home price rocketed from $340,000 to $485,000. It felt like a victory lap for Texas. But in 2025, the whole thing flipped upside down. Prices dropped nearly 5%, homes stalled on the market, and analysts warned another 8% drop was coming. And suddenly, the myth of the invincible Texas housing market shattered. To understand how it fell apart, you have to go back to 2020. The world locked down. Remote work took over. Overnight, the idea of paying $3,000 for a shoebox in San Francisco became absurd when you could live in a spacious Dallas home for half the cost. No income tax, cheaper, everything, and a job market exploding thanks to giants like Tesla and Oracle moving in. Between 2020 and 2022, more than 220,000 people a year landed in DFW. Entire cities recreated themselves there. And these weren't broke transplants. We're talking 6-figure tech workers, remote employees, bringing coastal salaries and investors armed with cash. Locals barely had a chance to compete. Homes sold in hours. Inspections? Forget it. People offered $10K, $20K, $50K, above asking like it was nothing. In just 8 years, Dallas home values nearly doubled, a 79% jump. But every boom has a breaking point. And Dallas hit its limit. 2021 was chaos on caffeine. If you owned property, you basically held a winning lottery ticket. Buyers wrote emotional essays begging for homes. Anyone with a low mortgage rate felt like they'd hacked the system. With 30-year rates under 3%, even a $400,000 house cost less per month than rent in half the country. Demand obliterated supply. In May 2021, only 6,100 homes were listed across the entire DFW region. 7 million people lived there, and fewer homes were for sale than seats in a small stadium. That's why investors piled in. Rents were skyrocketing, so landlords named their price and tenants paid it. Everything pointed up. Dallas hit its peak. $485,000 median price. Everyone was eating. Everyone felt safe. Everyone thought the mountain only climbed higher. Then the Federal Reserve walked in. When the Fed started raising rates in 2022, it didn't feel like a crisis at first, but rates had jumped from below 3% to over 7%. That same $400,000 house now costs $2,700 a month, $1,000 more than before. Buyers didn't walk away, they were pushed out. First-timers disappeared. Homeowners with 3% mortgages refused to move. If leaving your house meant doubling your monthly payment, you stayed put. And right as demand fell off a cliff, supply kept growing fast. All the construction approved during the boom came online at the exact wrong time. Thousands of brand new homes flooded the market. Meanwhile, homeowners who'd been waiting for rates to drop finally gave up and listed anyway. And looming over everything? Property taxes and insurance, the two punches nobody saw coming. Between 2019 and 2024, Dallas property taxes jumped 41%. Not because tax rates went up, but because assessed values exploded. A $400,000 home now meant a $12K to $15K yearly tax bill. Insurance? Even worse. Natural disasters hammered Texas and insurance companies panicked. Premiums doubled for many. Some areas became practically uninsurable. Even if buyers could handle the mortgage, the extra costs crushed them. By 2025, prices officially dipped 3.4% down year over year. In August, the slide continued. Forecasts predicted another 7 to 8% decline. Homes started selling below asking. 1/3 of spring 2025 sales closed at a discount. Dallas finally became a buyer's market, but the buyers still couldn't afford it. Real people were hurting. Like Sarah, a retired teacher who moved from LA thinking she'd found financial peace. She bought a $425K townhouse in 2021. By 2024, her tax bill shot up nearly $4K. Her insurance doubled. She didn't remodel a thing the state, just decided her home was worth more. Now she's paying $5K extra a year on a fixed income. She can't sell without losing money. She's stuck. Jennifer and Michael, young couple with solid incomes, but even a $350K starter home costs them over $3,000 a month with taxes and insurance. They make $110K combined and still can't buy. Renting is their only option. By early 2025, the pressure was nuclear. People were fed up. Property taxes were wrecking budgets. Home ownership was evaporating. And the governor finally stepped in, but only after the market buckled. In February 2025, Governor Abbott labeled property tax relief an emergency. Politically, he had no choice. Texas bragged for years about being affordable, then turned into the thing it mocked. Lawmakers rushed through a $10 billion tax relief package. Higher homestead exemptions, senior discounts, cuts for small businesses. They celebrated like they solved everything, but they didn't. Lower property taxes don't bring back buyers. They don't drop interest rates. They don't erase underwater mortgages. Economists called the relief a temporary painkiller, not a cure. By June 2025, Abbott held a fiery press conference in Denton. He slammed foreclosure notices on the podium, calling the situation unacceptable. But to most Texans, the outrage felt late. Where was this energy when prices were soaring uncontrollably? Where was this urgency when locals were losing bidding wars to investors? Politicians stayed quiet as long as the market looked hot. Now that it's sinking, everyone has an opinion. Meanwhile, Dallas drowned in inventory. 32,000 empty homes and rising. By August 2025, the picture was ugly. Prices fell 4.6% year over year. Average home values slipped to around $315,000. Analysts like Nick Gurley predicted another 7.8% drop ahead, warning Dallas was overvalued by more than 20%. Homes now sat on the market for 105 days on average, the longest stretch in over a decade. During the boom, you barely had time to blink before a home sold. Now, they sit like abandoned storefronts. Landlords aren't safe either. They bought expecting endless rent growth. Instead, rents dropped, vacancies climbed, and suddenly, being a landlord in Dallas felt like quicksand. Sellers who want out can't escape. If you bought between 2022 and 2023, chances are you're underwater. Selling means losing money. Staying means paying for a depreciating asset. Even first-time buyers, the ones who should benefit, can't actually get in. A $315K home, with taxes and insurance, still demands nearly $3K a month. And wages haven't kept up. If you're making $70K or $80K, forget it, you're priced out. This isn't just Dallas. Austin, Houston, San Antonio, all showing cracks. The sunbelt boom turned into the sunbelt hangover. Texas spent years dunking on California, only to find itself trapped in a mirrored version of the same crisis. So how did it all fall apart? Dallas became a victim of its own success. Too many people arrived too fast. Too much construction happened too quickly. Too many investors bet too big. Too many prices ran too wild. By the time reality checked in, the momentum had already shifted. Booms end, they always do. But Dallas's boom was so huge that the fall was guaranteed to be painful. The state built its reputation on affordability, then priced out the very residents who made that reputation worth anything. And once rates spiked, insurance surged, taxes ballooned, and construction flooded the market, the collapse became inevitable. Where does it go from here? Some think stability returns by 2026. Others say the correction will drag out for years. It depends on interest rates, insurance, reform, migration patterns, and whether Texas can still attract newcomers. But one truth is clear. The era of easy profit in Texas real estate is finished. The bidding wars, the over-asking offers, the non-stop climbing prices gone. The Texas housing market didn't implode overnight. It crumbled, slowly, painfully, piece by piece. And by the time the state called it an emergency, the damage was already baked in. And as the dust settles on everything we just walked through, you can feel that quiet little shift in the air, the kind that tells you this story isn't done, not by a long shot. There's always one more thread to pull, one more truth hiding just past the edge of the spotlight, because the truth is, Texas isn't just dealing with a housing correction, it's dealing with an identity crisis. The myth of the Lone Star bargain, the wide open land, the lower costs, the freedom to stretch out and build a life has collided head-on with pure economic gravity. And the thing about gravity, it doesn't care about hype, it doesn't care about state pride, it doesn't care how many corporations move in, or how many Californians swear this place is paradise. Gravity pulls everything back down to where it should have been all along. And once that illusion cracked, everything else started spilling out. You can feel it in conversations at grocery stores, in HOA meetings, in Facebook neighborhood groups, where people used to post lost dogs and now ask if anyone else's insurance tripled this year. You can feel it in the hesitation, the new silence in subdivisions that once buzzed with moving trucks. People aren't bragging about buying anymore. They're whispering about what happens if they can't hold on. That's the real story. Not the stats, not the charts, the human pause. The moment when optimism turns into doubt, and doubt turns into dread. Because Texas sold. A dream for years. Come here, work hard, and you'll be fine. But what happens when the dream itself becomes the thing people can't afford? When the promise of stability starts to feel like a gamble? That's where Dallas is right now. A crossroads between what it used to be and what it can no longer pretend to be. And the country is watching, waiting to see whether Texas can rebuild trust, or whether this was the moment the American migration story shifted again. And when that shift finally happens, it won't announce itself with a crash. It'll seep in, slow and quiet, like water finding every crack in a foundation people swore was unshakable. You'll notice it in the inventory numbers creeping up week after week, not because sellers are confident, but because they're desperate. You'll see it in builders, pulling permits at half the pace they did during the boom, quietly admitting what no one wants to say out loud. Demand isn't just softer, it's uncertain. Insurance companies will keep tightening their standards, dropping zip codes that were perfectly fine 5 years ago. Property tax assessments will keep lagging behind reality, trapping homeowners in valuations that made sense in 2022 but feel absurd now. Even rental markets, once the safety net, will keep showing stress as vacancy rates climb and incentives return, the kind landlords insisted would never come back. And beneath all of that, you'll feel the mood shift. The optimism that fueled bidding wars turns into caution. The certainty that Texas always wins becomes a quiet question. Cities like Plano, Frisco, McKinney, and even parts of Fort Worth areas, once treated like unstoppable rockets, start showing the same soft spots Dallas tried to hide. It's not collapse, it's correction layered on correction, a slow peeling back of inflated expectations until the real baseline finally shows itself. That's the part most people miss. Markets don't break all at once. They unravel inch by inch until suddenly everyone realizes the peak wasn't the new normal, it was the red flag. As the data shifts and the ground under homeowners, renters, builders, and investors moves again, you're going to want someone cutting through the spin and actually breaking down what it means. And if you've been riding with me through this breakdown, don't slip out now. The next chapter is about to get loud. Stay locked and hit that subscribe, because what's coming next isn't just data, it's the future of how Americans live, move, and survive. And trust me, you'll want to see the next move before everyone else catches on.